So hi everybody, this is Black Carnivore coming to you again, and I have a different kind of show for you today. So normally on my channel, you see that I talk about my experience with the carnivore diet and why I did it and what all the benefits were for me. And I also talk about like recipes and how you make stuff and, kind of how you do the diet on a day-to-day basis. But I don't often talk about why I decided to do this and what were the things that really convinced me. And I think that it's important to kind of share that. And I think I'm going to start making some videos about that. But I wanted you to know that I came to this, it wasn't just listening to people who had really great success, but I also spent a lot of time researching the science behind it, understanding the mechanisms why it would work, and understanding what studies there were when I first started. So that's what I want to talk about today is the research and the science that you can be looking at and finding resources where you can easily access that kind of information. So today I have Travis Statham with us. He is the moderator for Zero Carb Carnivore, the subreddit Zero Carb, as well as Ketoscience, which is what we're talking about today, and a whole bunch of other subreddits, which he's going to talk about. I can't list them all, but there were a lot of them. But I'm pretty active on, the two that I just listed, and we're going to talk about that today. So the Ketoscience Reddit has just a tremendous database of references and scientific studies, so that you can kind of look up any topic that you might be interested. You can find the studies that reference that or cover that, and it might help give you more peace of mind when you're actually thinking about doing a carnivore diet. So with that said, I'm going to jump right in. Travis, go ahead.
Hi, well, thank you for that introduction, Edie. All right, yeah, my name is Travis. So my history is I read a Gary Taubes book back in 2012, Good Calories, Bad Calories. Didn't know anything about nutrition, history, diet. I knew the same thing everyone else did. And then I learned and tried out keto that summer. I was 23 and I lost 15 pounds and was like, wow, this works. So I've kind of like never was able to forget it. And 2 or 3 years ago, I started hearing about the carnivore movement. I had just read The Case Against Sugar, which is Gary Taubes' most recent book. And it got me reinvigorated in the low carb ketogenic lifestyle because I was noticing all this chronic disease everywhere and really needed to do something about it. So I was looking for science on Reddit's R Science, looking for any health stuff, any obesity stuff, kind of any nutrition studies, and then trying to talk about keto in those threads. But I realized that most people are not interested. They're very they're focused on what they think they know, and you get into these giant debates and, in these, where you should be able to have some agreement, and you get into these big debates and nothing gets really accomplished. So then I realized there was another subreddit called Ketoscience, and how Reddit works is it's just basically a giant forum for one account that you make. So you make one account and then you subscribe to all sorts of different subtopics that you're interested in. So for instance, I have one for technical death metal, which is my favorite genre of music. And I'm actually a moderator of that. And, I post my favorite songs there. But I also have, there's New York Giants subreddits or Patriot subreddits or just an NFL subreddit. So
I'm actually glad that you brought up, like what Reddit is, because when I first went on Reddit, like I'd heard people talking about it and I was like, what is this weird thing? And I think the first thing I heard was how on NPR, people doing stories about, what is it? The incels on Reddit.
the incels.
And I was like, I don't understand this, either of those words. I don't know what this is, but I just decided to go on because I was like, what are people talking about? And then I saw like lots of different stuff and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then I got kind of, fell down the rabbit hole, and there were all these really smart and scientific and curious people on the zero carb subreddit. And so it was like a kind of a great place to land. And a lot of, influencers that we see on YouTube were also there. And so, I was able to develop a relationship, and it was really, it was a nice, I think it's a nice place. So I encourage people to get on Reddit, but quite a few.
It can be, Reddit is what you make of it. Now, like I say in all social media, like sometimes my parents will say like, I don't understand Facebook. I'm like, yeah, because you don't spend any time on it. You need to like comment, you need to put your voice down, you need to say what you think is true. You got to like expose yourself. Most people don't do that, and then they don't find much value out of social media. I think like if you're not commenting several times a day, you're not really participating, you're just lurking. It's like, get involved. Like, your voice matters, and if you're not comfortable sharing who you are, like, be anonymous. Like, I really like support like the ability to be anonymous to build your own confidence. And that's the original way I envisioned Reddit. Is like, it's very much an anonymous platform. You get your deepest, darkest secrets out, and you can vent. And that's an amazing way that Reddit kind of exposes that side of humanity. And it's hard to find like the kinks and the things that people like, or the things that people suffer from. Like, you can find any disease or any condition or any subgroup, or and you just see a bunch of links and a bunch of stories about whatever, and it's so easy to access that. And I'll say, compared to Facebook, where like you have to find a new group and you have to join in, you have to ask for membership, and then you get access, and then you're kind of like in this very bizarre world where it's hard to navigate. Another thing about Reddit is everything is chronologically ordered, and every single post can get upvoted and downvoted. So this is very important how Reddit works. Each post has like a plus and a minus, and you basically build more popularity if posts get built up more than they get downvoted. And then every comment you can write is upvoted and downvoted as well. So if you want to like really test whether your ideas have merit, you put them into Reddit, and then you see if they build karma, and you see if you build rapport, and you have good conversations with people. And every comment change.
So that is like so far beyond my ability and use of Reddit. For me, I'm like,
it's
this
all
is a
there.
place.
All there.
I mean, people have given me silver, and I'm like, I don't really understand what this is, but thank you.
Well, yeah, Reddit has started trying to monetize their platform. So they've added ways that you can buy coinage and then gift certain posts like an amount of money. And it's called like Reddit Gold or Reddit Platinum. And we can actually make custom you can make custom awards for each community now. And I still haven't done it for Ketoscience. It's like, well, when are people really going to start spending money on our stuff? But
well, let's go ahead and then dive right in then. So you
all right,
created.
Let's dive right in.
Wait, did you want to like just have you walk through starting a new account, or?
I think it would be really helpful. Yeah.
All right.
Let's suffer through it just like anyone would. I can maybe try as well.
All right. So we'll try to do this as quickly as possible, and I will put in the description the timestamp. So if you already have a Reddit account and you want to skip over it, you can. So you're going to a browser and you type in reddit.com.
Yep. So another fun tip is I organize all my icons at the top of Chrome. And if you delete the text, then you just see the icon. So you can just click on Facebook or click on Gmail. And good. Use minimum space up there. I mean, these are also folders. So this is my meat folder.
All right.
So this is what Reddit looks like normally. And I'll open this up.
And it's interesting. I never use Reddit on the computer. I only go on it with my phone.
Yeah, so actually only about a quarter of traffic is to this website. And there's also an old Reddit. And this looks completely different. So this is what most people are used to on on the internet, and it just doesn't look that good. But it loads very fast, and you can click comments and look. See how quick everything loads. Now on this one, it looks pretty quick, but yeah. So see here, this is 23.1 thousand karma. That's upvotes. So when I tried to click on it in an incognito window, it forced me to make a new account. So
okay, wait, but you're going too fast. So you you went to a browser, you went to reddit.com, and then you went to sign up.
well, yes. So you can really just go to the top here, the top right, and click sign up.
Uh-huh.
But I'm saying if you try and interact with a page, it will force you to try and sign up, because you can't interact with Reddit at all unless you have an account. So come here, put your email in.
But it doesn't have to be, identifiable to you. Lots of people have what they call throwaway accounts or other accounts
account.
where, because, even though it's anonymous, after a while, people get to know you based off of your comments and communication. So if you feel like you want to be commenting in an area you don't want others to see, just make a second account, and it's easy to switch back and forth between them.
So my username is actually available. Yeah, I should just make one. So select all squares with crosswalks. Ay. Oh, none. So one thing is, if you are like a doctor or someone who you want to be known, you should put your real name and your status, or like who you are, whatever, in there. You notice I put in doctor at first, but that's just an example. You can also put in a random name that you're going to be anonymous until you decide to kind of come out, and you can always say what your name is later later in time. So this is just how Reddit works. You find communities by topics you're interested in, and all the topic is r/. So you can also see up here that the r/ is in this URL. This thing is called the URL, and you can put your subreddit right there and then load it in any URL or any browser. So these are just subreddits you can join: gaming, pics, world news, advice, animals, art. Let's see what's in health. Oh, keto. Awesome. So you can see
that's the number one health subreddit.
That's the number one health subreddit. Yeah, there's literally nothing bigger. Get motivated is bigger, but and lose it is 2.1 million. So lose it is kind of like any kind of diet you want. It's
wow, this keto thing, boy, they poo-poo it, but it is like
keto
a
is
train.
1.8 million. Bodybuilding is almost 1 million. Healthy food, health, like, so we can join our nutrition, and I'll show you kind of why we make fun of it, but
well, let's get to ketoscience.
Let's get to ketoscience. Yes.
All right, so now
account has been created. Yay. All right, so here's my account. You get a message. So up here is like your header, and you get little messages on this mail icon. So this is how it works. Users post to communities, also known as subreddits. Other users vote and comment on those posts. Based on those votes, the best posts rise to the top for all to enjoy. So it works really well on giant communities with millions of people. It works in a different way for smaller communities. So let's see how that works. So if you click up here, this is like your filter to select communities, right? So just to look, if you click home, this takes like a random mix of all the subreddits you subscribe to. So see, we already noticed our keto and our lose it in the homepage, right? Because we joined them in the beginning. And we see over here, my communities, these are all the ones we joined. So we joined about 12,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's star our nutrition. And then let's come up and let's look for ketoscience. All right, so we looked in the search bar right here. Perfect. Ketoscience, 95.1 thousand members. A long description, which I wrote. And you can click it, and this all opens up, right? Very nice. All right, so what you do, confirm an email. All right, so they send an email to you right away. Go in, find your email, confirm that new account. Otherwise, you can't post. It like literally it doesn't work, and it will think you're like a spam bot or something. So, all right, so this is Ketoscience. Every community has like a description, a total number of members that have literally clicked that join button that we just clicked. And remember that our keto had 1.8 million, and this has 100,000 almost. So about an eighth, 1/18th of the size. And right here is the coolest part about Reddit that nobody knows about. So it says filter by flare. And what you can do is you come to this subreddit, and let's say you have type 2 diabetes and you want to see if low carb diets can help you. And you want to read some science, so you can go to your doctor and say, I'm actually caught up on the science and I know what's going on. And here's some studies that you could read and you can tell me what you think. So, all right, here we go. 12 days ago, Demonocracy, Travis Statham, this is me. I posted this 12 days ago, right? And here's a study, effects of the low carbohydrate, high fat diet on glycemic control and body weight in patients with type 2 diabetes. Experience from a community-based cohort. So this is the title of some science post. And then in here, I kind of summarized what the post was about. Just kind of the dirty details. We have 49 patients, so that's like your N equals number. This is the amount of carbs in the study that they use to say what LCHF is. Sometimes it's 120 carbs, and the results aren't as significant because we don't expect as much. More carbs, more weight loss. So what I did is when I found this post, I was like, wow, this is actually a really pretty awesome post. I think someone posted it on Twitter or something.
So that whole Reddit, people just post any kind of study that they've come across that they find interesting.
Yes,
that relates to keto. Okay.
And I will go over how all that works.
So and so they find a way to post a free PDF.
So yeah, see this link here? When I find a new post, the second thing I look for is a link for the entire full PDF. Now let's see this. This one is like a direct link to some bmj.com URL. So we know this one is like a legitimate link that like the journal has hosted. So nobody cares if you have this link. You can copy this, you could send this to your friend, you can download this, you know, you can open it up on your own computer. Now you own this PDF, right? You can make your own database if you want.
And so for people who aren't like academicians, this looks to me like an annotated bibliography where you list a whole bunch of scientific, articles, journal articles, studies around a particular topic, and you put in a short summary of what it is. And so then you have this whole essentially library of data that you can read through that other people can read through without having to read everything the way you have, or curate it all. So that's really, really helpful. Can you walk through an article? Because I think, a lot of us haven't taken science since high school. So how, I find like I read these things and it's like, I don't know how to judge what I'm reading and, what I'm supposed to think about it. I mean, sometimes, when I read about a study that's like one of those epidemiological studies where they have a survey and they've given people a survey to answer, at year 1, year 2, and then year 5 or something, and it's kind of like, okay, I can see why this is not great. And I can't expect, I don't remember what I ate a couple weeks ago, let
Yeah.
alone like for a whole year. So I can see what the challenges are with a study like that. But other ones, it's kind of like, I don't know, is this normal? Is it not normal to do this? How do you calculate risk, and what do those numbers mean? So if you could kind of walk us through how you read or think about some of these studies.
All right, perfect. Yes, so basically studies all get published eventually to this one website called PubMed, and you can basically expect to find most studies here.
So
And
you're saying
you
every
can,
study in the world or the
in the
United
world,
States?
more or less, basically comes through this website and gets on
Okay.
here. You can basically, so let's say I'm on Twitter, right? And someone posts this link and I'm like, I just want to learn more about it, right? Well, you can search anything. You can look up the authors, you can find like their websites, and they'll have the papers on there. You can just search the title, which is what I did. Just hit Control C, and then I went in up here and pasted it, and opened this and clicked the first result, and here it is, right? So this is the old PubMed, and you can see right over here on the right, full text links, full free text, full free text. All right, so that's that's what you want to see first. If you see that, then you know everyone can read this, and you also know that the article is generally proud of their results because they want it to be read, right? It's not locked behind some paywall.
Oh, is that something
I think
so
that's
do you
kind
think
of
the
how I view
authors?
it. Well, yeah, I mean, if
I mean,
they
I
think
kind of assumed
if
it
they
was
think
like,
their science is going to change the world and be useful, then I think they want it to be free. But I mean, it's also kind of like how, like, this whole journal is called Open Diabetes Res Care, so it's probably open where everything is free, like.
mhm.
But that, it's just things to think about, what I noticed. So right off the bat, you have your authors, right? 5 authors. Just, this one is usually like the professor. So if you look this person up, they'll usually be the last one on most of the papers. Um,
Okay.
yeah, like here, Kalyani,
So
Kalyani.
the way the names are listed is the
So the first author is like the primary author who did most of the work on it. And when you click there, like the last one you were just on will open up. And then you can basically see what the scientist's work is been on for like the last couple of years. And they might have 30 years of history in here. I've been using this lately to fill out my other database. And
mhm.
it is incredible how you just click, you open up a new tab, watch. You just do this for all the authors. Now you
Mhm.
have 100, 95, 14, 23.
Wow.
And then you go through all these and you see if any of them relate to your topic, right? So this is like just kind of, doing your own due diligence in terms of research, but you can try and automate all this with just crazy searches and stuff. But I really like
So
just seeing it myself
So what
because
you're doing, I mean, you can just, find a study that you're interested in reading, and we're going to go through how to do that. But you can also, once you find a study and, let's say you like it or you like their approach, you can look up the authors and see if they've written things,
usually they've
similar.
written a pilot study, yeah, or like a study that is shorter term, or they've looked into some of the mechanisms, or you can see
Mhm.
what kind of, maybe they're a microbiome researcher and they
Mhm.
think like plant-based diets are really good for you. So they're
Mhm.
kind of coming at this low carb diet in that kind of view, and they're trying to
Mhm.
prove like their Haza diets are correct. So
So it's
like
a good idea to take a look at the
it's
authors and
always,
kind of get a
yeah.
sense of their
And just
context and where they're
realize all
coming
these
from.
scientists are people. No one's perfect. They're all doing their best job, but you don't really ever know as a person whether someone's intentions are good or not. So, I mean, but you can just look them up. You can judge them for yourself. So, I
Okay.
can show you another similar example of a study I found today. And I looked up one of the first authors, and I found some very revealing things.
Okay.
So when you find a study,
So wait,
real
let's
quick,
just go through this study. So this one is what's it? Let's go back up to the title.
all
So
right,
this
so it just
one,
came out in March, very fresh.
so this one is about looking at a low carb, high fat diet and how that impacts, I guess, blood glucose and
Yeah,
weight
and
in
body weight.
type 2.
So they just had like 50 patients basically were going to a community-based place for their diabetes health. And they said, all right, we're gonna put all you guys on a low carb diet, and here's your instructions. We're going to
Wait,
tell
where do you
them.
find the instructions?
We're gonna find that. Well, all right. So we know that there's going to be some instructions. We can figure that out in a bit, right? Um, and this is really what they care about. It hasn't been investigated in real world settings. So they're basically trying to find a real world setting where they say, hey, this is some advice. You guys can follow it or not. Like, we're not gonna force you to do it, but this will make you better. We really think this will make you better. So um, we can look into this stuff later in the study, but it's just the abstract. It just
All right,
tells you
so
the good details.
so so for someone who's not science related, the way these papers are generally structured is that there's like essentially an introduction, which is the abstract, which describes all the top line points of the
yes,
study.
yes.
And then the rest of the article actually goes into the detail on each of the parts of the abstract.
Right. So when you first come to a study, read the title, see who the first author and the last author are, read the objective, see about the design, you quickly scan the results and quickly scan their conclusion. And then you go down to the methods and you see, all right, well, is this actually like something I care about? Because let's say they are actually eating 200 grams of carbs and they didn't have good results, then it's not like an interesting study. But right here, patients were recommended to restrict net carbohydrate, total carbs minus fiber intake to less than 20 grams per day or 5 to 10% of their total calories, whichever was lower, as defined by Hallberg. Now,
Is that Sarah Hallberg?
This is Sarah Hallberg, and this is the Verta study. So you can see that this is now the de facto #1 study for keto. This is ketoscience right here. And all these doctors and scientists basically said, we need better ketoscience, so let's make our own company and run the study ourselves. And now you can see that any study that kind of follows this is going to kind of take after that. But instead, what Verta does is they use like a web thing in a phone, and they have everything keyed in. This is probably just a community where they can just tell these people what to eat or not. So patients were recommended by endocrinologists to stop with some of their drugs. And then in the regular group, they were encouraged to eat high fiber foods, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, low fat dairy products, fresh fish, and foods low in saturated fat. We would all agree that's the healthy diet that consensus wants us to eat. So they're setting this study up for a big win, basically, right? LCHF group. Look at this. So most studies, you should really, if you can't see anything on the graph, then the study shouldn't be that interesting. Right here, way up here, 8.2 A1C. Visit to 6.5. So this drops almost 2%. This dark line is the LCHF group, which is really a very low carb ketogenic diet, almost a carnivore diet, more or less. And this one dropped a little bit and then kind of came back up. So what I see here is people cut some calories, they ate a little healthier, and they got hungrier and hungrier and hungrier and put back the weight. So by visit 4, they were worse off. And I typically see this in keto, like weight loss studies, where there will be a little rise at the end. Usually people's resolve to cut carbs kind of evens off, and now they know what they can do. So this can go up or down for anyone. Once you kind of learn how keto works, it only takes a year, then, you can't forget that knowledge. So, and then just look at this, change in weight, continuous drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, actually, this is A1C, so it basically didn't change at all. And weight went down.
They gained weight.
They went down and then they gained weight. Amazing, right?
Yeah.
So that's what modern advice does, and this is what ketogenic advice does. And like steady weight loss, they're just gonna keep dropping as long as they stay on keto. And like that's the study right there, right? Like, so I have more, and you'll also notice all this study is like very nice to read. It's easy to see. So this means this is the HTML study. It's not the PDF study. So this is the PDF study, right? Looks completely different.
Why does that matter, or does it?
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, like, you can see the same study, but now they present the information better. It's a little clearer. They have color.
Okay.
Here are the same graphs, right? And then, so we like our 20%. We know it's a valid keto study. We really like the results. Now we want to read the discussion and see what kind of things the authors themselves learned, right? So they'll talk about the improved A1C with significant 11.9% reduction in total body weight. 50% of patients discontinuing insulin a few months after starting the LCHF diet, And then here's more, all these 0.001, this p-value, if you learn more about science, it kind of means like the chances that it's a random effect is super low. So it's most likely that the intervention that was tested in the experiment caused the result to happen. I think that's the best TLDR. And then look at this. We have, so you can zoom in on PDFs, right? And changes in mean insulin dose for patients ever on insulin during this study period. So this is our keto diet on the left. Insulin decrease in dose was 60%, and discontinued is 30+%. Amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Metformin, sulfonylureas, all of them are off that, right? So this entire drug category wouldn't exist if keto advice was out there.
Wait, what is that drug?
Sulfonylurea, they're I don't know, some nasty drugs that help people.
I mean, I feel like I've seen commercials for that.
Problems. Yeah,
I feel like,
you have.
Oh yeah, okay.
All doctor, basically, if you have chronic disease, you have these 6 drugs, more or less, right? Look, this is the evo pair, so no change. So all these people are on this stuff. Increase in dose. It's just, so the whole point of going on keto diets is really to get off drugs.
Right.
So down here, you can see all the juicy details, right? So these are where the authors are from. You can look into all these schools, see if they have biases. These are all great schools. Johns Hopkins, endocrinology.
So, So I was looking at like
where the funding is.
So I would want to know how to think about funding, because, a lot of times when you say, when you like talk about a study, then someone will say, well, that was just paid for by the meat industry. And, you know, I mean, things do have to get paid for. So, and money does have to come from places. So, well, one, the funder doesn't necessarily mean that the study was not, it is not trustworthy. But how would you
Right.
say to think about that?
So it's challenging because like, yeah, you only really know the names of the organization and what they're associated with, and you don't really know like why the funding was approved. You know, you're not really
Hmm.
given a look inside that process. So
Well, I mean, for example,
I find that like usually you can tell there is such bias in an article that the funding then makes sense. Like it kind of fills in the gap of like you're like, all right, it's not, something seems off about this, and then like you read the funding and you're like, that could make sense, right? So but I really don't sense a lot of problems from the meat industry. I really think they've lost the health argument, and all they're trying to do is not incur anyone's wrath anymore,
hmm
which means they don't want to say too many claims they can't get away with.
hmm
And if you like, the meat industry has had these battles over the last 150 years, going against vegetarian interests, and cut out pollution, and and so-called deathly animal parts and whatever. Um,
hmm
it's really been tried. The meat industry has fought back, and they've put out websites. They've tried to do marketing and advertisement, but because they've never understood low carb diets or keto diets, they never had a good leg to stand on.
hmm
Like if they're only arguing through epidemiology and just like superior nutrition, then or not superior nutrition, but superior protein, then they're going to lose the battle, because they're not making the battle about fat versus carbs. And
Right.
really, that's what carnivores and keto people bring to the table. They say animal fat is actually our number one priority. That's what we need more of. That's what energy is. That's what we want to change our bodies to start burning. And when you do that, then all the carbs that seemed so appealing before now become useless. Like why
hmm
would you want them when you could have animal fat instead?
hmm
And I think showing how important animal fat has been to the history of humans as a species in terms of
hmm
evolving us to the point where we are now, and the emphasis we put on it is really like one of the ways to get through to people that we should be trying to live like we're keto, not like we're carnivores.
You can't necessarily make a judgment right away about whether a study
Everything
is
is more
reliable,
complicated.
right,
Yeah.
based off of its
And
funding, but it's something to
honestly,
think
a
about.
study is always just a part of the whole, right? So when studies come out, I think sometimes people just look at the study from the perspective of, oh, only this study is true. Whereas you have to say, like, actually, this study is one of millions being plugged into the equation of reality. And is it really changing what we think we already know? Sometimes not. And you can push back. You can make those arguments. You can say, like, well, the study actually ignored all these points of view that showed this whole other side. And they like that's generally the case with keto, right? They don't even accept that it's a possibility, and then they can write it off. So if you stuck carnivore diets in like half of these trial studies, I think they'd win hands down every time. But because they never get tested against, you never get to see the value of it, right?
Hmm
So science is really like you can learn what you can out of all of it. And any amount of science is valuable because you can also learn the beliefs of the people who are conducting it, and that sometimes is even more valuable than what the things they are saying.
hmm
You can learn why they're saying it, and if they have a way to prove how they're saying it, then you can follow that and you can repeat it yourself.
hmm
And if they don't show that, then you're really learning what they think.
hmm
Um, all right, so I made a bunch of flares. Really, like if you have any kind of problem,
So on
come to
Reddit, a
Ketoscience.
flare. So on Reddit, a
A
flare
flare,
is like
yes.
a tag or something.
Yes, right. So when you make a new post check this out. This is how you make a new post, right? Create a post. This is a subreddit, and you can select any subreddit you're a member of. So you can click post, image and video, link, and poll. A poll is a new option that they just added. Most popular ones is link. So for instance, you could copy that link and you could paste it in here. And this is the direct URL link to that PDF, right? And I could go to the top and just take this. And this is an example of what I would say a not very useful post. Because if I post this, ooh, wow. So I
you have to choose
added
a flare.
thing. You have to choose a flare. So you come down and say, oh, this is type 2 diabetes. You know, if you have type 2 diabetes, that will work. And honestly, most of our low carb studies where we have really good results are tagged in their type 2 diabetes, because that's kind of like the cohort of people they're picking from, right?
Right.
A lot of our flares actually apply. This is about the state of ketosis. You know, there is maybe this is breaking the status quo. It's a great, you know, new study. You know, they study some cardiovascular disease. It's almost a carnivore diet. Maybe I could argue there, you know. Anyway, so there's lots of different flair. You try and pick the best one, and then mods can either help fix and make it better. You know, you could also choose weight loss, bone health, immune system. We have lots of flares. We're just trying to make it easier to get back to this stuff. So make that, and you can also select live chat, which use comments instead of live chat. So you really do want comments, which means they're threaded in a certain way where you can see them stack, basically. If you do a chat, which is the new thing they've added, it's just like a live chat room. That's much more complicated to follow, but it's more sequential. So if you're doing like a live event or like we were watching a video or something, you could do a live chat. But it doesn't work as well. And also just, you know, Reddit is it's a casual website, so there can be not safe for work stuff on here. So if, you know, you have some bloody, gruesome pictures in your article, you post it. But I'm just saying there are other subreddits that dedicated to this kind of content, and it's out there on the site, and you just got to be aware of it, or aware of where you could actually pop onto it. So let's say we make this post, right? Posted by you, Travis Statham. See this in my profile. It's all this basic content we just made. But if we go to the site, it's not actually going to be here. Well, it's right here right now. But if we make a new incognito window, one where I'm not signed in. Oh, it is there. Well, it signed me in automatically. But anyway, what I need to do as a moderator from the other side is to approve the post and basically say that it is worthy of the standards of the subreddit. So moderators basically can control all the posts that come through the subreddit and make sure they're high quality and they're like good posts. This is the moderator queue. See this mod queue? Mm-hmm. And right here, we have this study posted, right? So if we click this, it opens this up, and see this red bar? It means the study isn't visible yet. So this new user Travis Statham, posts it, he can see it, but everyone else in the subreddit can't see it. So if we're in here, whoa.
So in most cases, though, when someone starts a new account, they'll be able to post. It just might take a little while for it to pop up.
Reddit, they can post comments, yes, but right, when they make posts through here, there will be a delay until a human gets eyes on it. Now, also, you can apply to become an auto-approved poster, and I actually have about 20 or 30 people that are auto-approved. So anything they post gets through right away, and I've been trying to find more people that do that. And occasionally I'll go through, and good posters that are repeats, I'll automatically approve them just to make up my life easier.
So,
right?
but it helps to know that the conversation, it is moderated, so it doesn't
it is
necessarily
moderated, yes.
devolve into, just sort of unhelpful back and forth commenting, but it actually is really useful discussion about some of these topics.
Right. Now here I just organized by new, and we don't see that new one that the Travis Statham account put in, right? So we have to go back to mod tools. This is on my main account, and actually approve this, and now it will show up. So now the red will be green. See this little check mark?
Mm-hmm.
This is what a moderator can see. And then here, this is the account where I'm logged in on Travis Statham. It's now this post is live. And the user can't really tell either way. But now, like, other people can comment on it, right? And also, if you forgot something about, so what happens a lot, and this is why I don't like link posts, is you post this link and it goes right to the PDF, and people are like, wow, that's great, but I didn't really want to download the PDF right away, or didn't want to open it up. And I wanted to read the abstract without seeing all that, right? So how do you do all that? Well, I can't edit the post because the link is saved. I can only edit the flare. So my only option with the link post is to delete it, and I can't change the title. So I'm just going to delete the post altogether, and it's gone. Post deleted successfully. Now I'm going to make a new one, and I'm going to put the link in here and put the abstract in the text. And I'll just show you quick how that's done. So here's the full PDF. Oh, this one goes to my computer, and this one is like the public free site. So we're going to copy this in. I'm going to paste it here. So you saw my original post, right? And I would go through and put the title here, put the title up here. I highlight this, make a heading. And then you can copy this whole abstract in. And sometimes when you do it directly out of the PDF, it looks really bad like that, right? So it loses all the formatting. So in that case, then you want to get it out of here, and this will keep the formatting. See the difference?
Yeah.
This is 15 minutes of work because you're basically going through, finding the right breaks. Whereas this is instantaneous. So then you delete this, and now your post looks great, right? That's the bare minimum I'd say for like a decent post. Now you can add authors, and now the coolest thing.
Do you find that people comment and discuss these articles, or because sometimes they'll see something come out and I'm like, I don't know what to think about this, so I'll put the title into Reddit and just find who's been posting about it and see what they say.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point. I wish I can say every post was perfectly discussed, but many of them do go through the cracks, and we're really looking for more intelligent posters that want to discuss this stuff, because I think it's really interesting.
So all of you who are watching this, then going to the Ketoscience Reddit is a great place to look for any, new articles that are coming out, and just to sort of search and dig in on the topic that most interests you. And, and you're welcome to ask questions about it, solicit, opinions or advice, or, make your own comments. So I encourage you all to head over to the subreddit Ketoscience. and just, start playing around. It's just a wealth of information, and it's a great way to start, trying to come up with your scientific article, scientific arguments for why things are good for you. I've had so many people say to me, but red meat is bad. Like, why do you follow this diet? And it's like, why do you think that? Let's dig in on the reasons why you think red meat are bad. And when you start looking at the studies, it's like, that's not really what they say.
Yeah, we even have a meat flare. Now we have associations, lots of good associations. This is kind of all about meat. There's sustainability stuff, important roles of dietary taurine, creatine, carnosine.
Wait, go back to that video. There's 43 comments. What were people saying?
Oh yeah, so this is Brian Sanders.
So he's the one that he made that movie, Food Lies?
Yes, he's making it. It's not out yet.
Oh, I see.
So he does a whole presentation. It's 15 minutes.
I'm totally gonna look at that. When was that post? What date was that?
It was 1 month ago. So what I can do, say you want that post, right? I copy this link and then send it to you, right?
Okay.
So open up the chat and send it to you.
Okay.
I can also do share and copy the link, and I can cross post it. So cross posting is another cool thing where you can cross things to your own profile, which is kind of rare, or to another subreddit or place in Reddit.
Well, are you going to send it to me now?
I don't think I can do it to another user, but I can post it, say to or lose it or something. And they will say this community does not allow for cross-posting of linked posts. So a lot of these things are kind of locked down based on what kind of posts each subreddit wants to have. So they don't allow that.
They're like, no keto here.
Yeah.
We're just doing regular
that doesn't matter. It's just, it doesn't allow cross posts.
Oh, okay.
And if they did, then people would be posting there from other subreddits saying, hey, I lost, 200 pounds on keto, and someone cross posted to lose it, and then blah, blah.
Okay, so this is like really an in-depth look into Reddit, but this is a great start, and I think that you guys, everyone watching, just head on over and start playing around. And who are you on?
Let me point out a few more things too that people just should know. So at the top we have links. This is the wiki, giant list of like hundreds of people. Actually, it's kind of out of date, but I made this whole list like a year ago, and these are all wikis about all sorts of different topics. We have a guide, we have a cholesterol guide, we have vegetable oils wikis, and then we have blogs.
So wait, I'm sorry. Channels. So those wiki links are to posts that are in Ketoscience about a particular
that other
topic.
users or me have written. You can see they're not all done. Finding people that have the time to spare to make this stuff kind of publicly available is tough, and you want high quality. Yeah. Things, but
so this is communally built, and
it's like a community wiki page,
right?
So if you're interested in helping out with this, or like you don't want to start your own website, or you just want to make have an easy project. So this is last revised by Rickos. This is one of our other moderators. He posts a lot of amazing stuff, and he does keto for cancer. He has like a rare blood cancer, I think. And he's very keyed into the science because of that personal
What
experience.
kind of blood cancer? Do you know?
I don't know. I forget. He's been managing it pretty well.
My mom had a rare type of blood cancer, so I'm curious. Although she died, so.
Well, I'm trying to get him more interested in the community. But,
all right.
Maybe we can talk to him. So real quick, this is Zero Carb. This is the other subreddit. I don't moderate as often here. This is mostly partly paleo and Nia, but I still post a lot, and I do a lot of the flare. I took this picture in the background. I ate like a steak that looks like that. And I also made this icon, which people still complain about.
Who
But we put,
who are you on Reddit? How can people
I
find you?
am Demonocracy. Whoa. Wow. I have an 18 plus picture?
Wow, you are dangerous.
Yeah, so this is how much karma I have, which is a combination. Oh yeah, see that? So 116,000 post karma and 53,000 comment karma. So posts are these, and then comments are these.
I must have like 8 karma.
Yeah, it seems like a lot, but if you go on like the big subreddits like Ask Reddit, you can get 10,000 karma on a single comment. So you could basically get as much karma as I have in like a couple days if you just had some lucky comments.
Yeah.
So what you do is you come here and you click join on zerocarb and ketoscience, and now you can come here and you can see an instantaneous look of all the latest stuff. So this is a post I posted a couple days ago, and let's talk about it quick because I have some updates.
Okay.
So attention, Doctors Belinda Leonards and David Ludwig of Harvard University will perform the largest modern day carnivore study to date. So if you would like to participate in a study and you've been on a fully carnivorous or majority carnivorous diet for at least 6 months, you can use the following link. And the link is is.gd/C carnivore survey, one word. And we can put that link down in the bottom, but we're getting the message out.
So David Ludwig decided to get interested. I mean, I thought he was kind of like the no sugar guy, but I didn't know he was like into carnivore enough to like head up a study.
Yes, so I can actually go through.
Like, when did that happen?
So they made a study called, it was like a type 1 diabetes study, and they ran it in type 1 grit, which is another Facebook group. So this is the article: Management of type 1 diabetes with a very low carbohydrate diet. Linda S. Leonards and David Ludwig, right? So these are 2 people involved, and they had 316 respondents.
And what did they say? Very
42% low. Were parents. They said very low carb. Typically defined as less than 20 to 50 grams or less than 5 to 10. So basically strict keto, but because it's just kind of like whatever people are doing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of like the same way we try to define carnivore diets. Like, there's a lot of leeway, and you don't really know, but you know, we all know what the advice is. Generally, less than 20 or less than 50 grams a day, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. So these results are kind of hard to read, but participants had a mean daily carbohydrate intake of 36 plus or minus 15 grams. So right there is your range, right? Literally right between 20 and 50. And the reported mean HbA1c was 5.6. This is for a population of diabetics. Usually diabetics are 6.5, 7, 8, you know, they're injecting insulin their whole life, and it's super high. And all they did is they did a survey in a Facebook group. 340 participants consented, 414 eligible, 72 loss of follow-up.
So this was a survey. So how was this a useful survey that produces good results, whereas other surveys don't?
Well, because usually the survey is what did you eat, and it just mixes together everyone into a giant pool, and then they try and find subtypes within that. They try and link different parts. But here we know everyone is in a pool where they're eating low carb diets because they're in this Facebook group. And so we're just saying, well, show us what your HbA1cs are, and clearly you're alive. So like, you wouldn't be in this group, you want to be participating in the study unless you're doing ketogenic diets, right? And we wouldn't even expect you to have a low HbA1c unless you're doing a ketogenic diet. So they kind of like factor out. You can also do ketogenic breath strips. I'm not sure if they asked that from them, but data collection and categorization, when possible, survey questions were modified, covered several domains: diabetes diagnosis and treatment, diet, insulin regimen, other diabetes related care, glycemic control, blah, 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 survey instruments, data was collected. So, yeah, and participants. And then here's a figure. So this is the HbA1c distribution, right? So most common was about 5.5, which is basically normal, maybe a little high. And it should be like right here, yeah. So instead of having a big thing here from a high carb type 1 diabetic population, it's down here.
Wow.
But,
so scroll back to the chart again. So a lot of the adults actually got their A1C even below 5.
yeah, right.
That's actually a pretty big deal.
Yeah, right. 5% each one of these. We're like 6.5, 7. One is at 8, one is at 9. So these people probably may have just started on a low carb diet, getting down, and these have been on for a very long time. And this is kind of the average.
All right.
So so I'm just saying you can get pretty good data out of these people, and this is a discussion, the effect of very low carb on cardiovascular disease. But they looked at all the markers, and the remarkably low ratio of triglycerides to HDL-C of 1:1, together with a low total daily insulin requirement, indicate high insulin sensitivity and good cardiometabolic health. So these studies definitely go against the mainstream ideas. So we thank the type 1 grit community for participating in this study. And that's kind of how it works. So our carnivore study is going to be basically the same thing. But instead we're going to be...
So people who are self-defined or described as carnivores are going to offer whatever, health information they have.
Yeah.
All right. I got to sign up and do it myself.
You got to sign up. So here's our subreddit, or our Facebook group. This is World Carnivore Tribe. We're almost at 49,000 people. The link is in here, and you can just click this and start the survey and put in your email and sign up to be involved in further studies. And we, this is just the beginning. This is like the cheap science that we start. We get people talking, and the best thing is that this study that I showed you, look at the info and the metrics. Cheap study, didn't even really do an experiment, just quiz some people. Alt metric, it shows basically how popular a study is. About this attention score, 916, in the top 5% of all research outputs scored by alt metric. High attention score, 99th percentile, 97th percentile, high attention score.
Okay, I totally don't understand what any of that means. So you're saying that this particular study was used a lot, or
it was
not?
Very popular. A lot of people read it.
And cited it.
And cited it and looked at it and talked about it. These are all the news articles that were talking about it, Men's Health and MSN.
And so why was it a bad study? That's what you were just saying?
No. It's a good study.
Oh, I see.
So it's a bad study because it's a cheap study, and it didn't actually like do a controlled experiment where you put like,
Oh,
high carb people on a low carb diet and see the difference. All
right,
you
right.
did is ask, hey, healthy low carb people, what do you do? And they said, oh, this is what we do, and this is what our blood scores are, and we're not lying. And
Hmm.
that's all it's saying. So you can, I
But
it's
that's
just like a
helpful,
nice,
right?
it's helpful, right? And
Yeah.
we're thinking the same way. If you look into the carnivore community and say, wow, you haven't had plants in 10 years and you're not dead of scurvy or all these deficiencies, like, all right, we clearly are misunderstanding what we think we know. um so I'm just saying this is very popular, and I think our carnivore study is going to be very popular as well.
Well,
And
good.
I
And how does that differ?
actually
How does that differ from what Sean Baker did that first January 2018, the first world,
um
or what was that study? I mean, he collected a whole bunch of information, didn't he? Or
yeah, so he collected a study and got 10,000 people to say stuff. I did a survey and had 300 or so, 350. But this new study, this carnivore study, is gonna. All right, so the total numbers today: 1,500 have answered the eligibility questions, 1,450 are eligible, 700 have given consent and started, and almost 600 have completed the main survey, while 200 have indicated that they can provide labs and pre-carnivore labs. So all that data is going to be wrapped up with tons of fun numbers. And this other study only had 300. We're already almost at double that. And we're going to keep this out for a couple months. So if you are just hearing this, it's not too late. Please come find the study. Please, talk about your experience,
Mhm.
talk about the bad, talk about the good. We want to know about it. It's science. It doesn't matter if you didn't have, like the perfect experience. You've done it for a long time, 3 to 6 months. We're saying 6 months because we want like people that have gone through adaptation, and we have lots of kind of messy stories in the 4 to 5 month range where people kind of like have gained weight or haven't really adapted perfectly, or they're recovering from like a really like nutrient deficient diet, and finally they're kind of like rebuilding their internal system. So we think 6 months is best, but if you've only done this for 3 months, like write your story, and you can still be part of like the next study. And we
Mhm.
want to have your email address on hand so you can easily be part of that, and you can stay in touch. We're going to keep talking about this to the community as we find more science, and hopefully we can publish something in a real legitimate journal by the end of this year. um,
Wow, that's soon, huh? Well, David Ludwig, I mean,
uh,
that is nothing to sneeze at. So, wow.
yeah, not really. And the
And
carnivore,
Harvard, no less.
Harvard, yes. And oh, so let me talk about that quick, right? So Harvard TH10 is what keto and carnivores love to hate. So Harvard. So this is the school of epidemiology that most people are used to. And this is led by Frank Hu and Walter Willett. And they are kind of very much pro-plant, pro-vegetarian, like anti-red meat, anti-keto. Okay. And they're part of Harvard, but they're not the institution that's doing our study. So our study is being done through Boston Children's Hospital, and I don't think Dr. Ludwig or Dr. Leonard's is affiliated with TH10 anyway. So don't think your data is gonna be used to talk about heart disease and high cholesterol and a bunch
Mhm.
of nonsense. This is really gonna be the first in-depth look into the carnivore movement from a medical standpoint. And if we have all this data, these labs, and 200, 500 people talking about this, it's going to make an impact.
Mhm.
Really going to be excited about that.
Wow. So that was really chock full of information and very in depth. I really appreciate your walking us around the Reddit and sort of showing us how to sign up and how to think about a study and sort of and analyze, what we're reading.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. This is how I use the internet all the time. I'm constantly doing actions kind of like this. I'm looking up science, I'm skimming it, I'm
Hmm.
trying to summarize it.
I just want to make people aware that there are other where to look for studies and kind of how to find them. Because when you go into PubMed, there must be like millions of studies in there. So if you wanted to find things on keto, like how would you even do that other than searching the word keto?
Yeah, you can look up keto, and it's not easy, and you're gonna get flooded with lots of studies that don't make sense, right? So
Right.
we did.
So you go to
Oh,
zotero.org and
yeah, zotero.org. Um, just go quick.
do you have to have an account or?
You don't need an account to look at this, um, but you can only look at it, and I'm not even sure you can see the articles inside, but you can make an account and ask to join. Um, and there are like members. So there's this thing called groups, and these are a bunch of groups, the public open membership. Ketoscience database is 7 members. I wrote all this down. We made a Ketoscience subreddit database, and I put some projects up there of like things I want to like go through and get references for and add to the database. Um, but
So
this is the
if you were coming in here to look at studies, like how would you look at it? It's
yeah, I will.
tremendous.
So this is the web view in the back, and this is the desktop view, right? So over here, I clicked Ketoscience database, and this is all the science in here. And this is 7,000 studies, all organized by year, by title, by publication. I've been going through this book called Principia Ketogenica or something by Ash Simmons. And he has 200 studies or so. So I've been going through that, and then I've been exploding each author, like I showed you, and then getting like their top 20 keto studies. And there's epilepsy, uh, tons and tons of epilepsy studies, beta hydroxybutyrate, carbohydrate restriction. Um, all these are, carbohydrate diets and stuff. And so what you can do is you can see these. Well, it like downloads the files, I think, to the cloud. But basically all these articles are now like organized in this database. And what you can do is, as your own Ketoscience.
Is there a link on Ketoscience to Zotero?
Yes, it's all part of it. There's a subreddit called our Ketoscience database,
Okay.
which I can go to.
Oh, so the link is not in Ketoscience, but it's the Ketoscience database subreddit.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's right here. It's
You
at the
just
top
love
here.
subreddits.
I do. So if I have an idea now, I just make a new subreddit, and it's an easy way to organize everything. There's only 1 or 2 or 3 or 6 upvotes around here. So this is a very small group. It's only 50 members, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you start off small and you build it. And so the link is like right in here, Zotero database. And you can make your own Zotero account as a join. And then you can start contributing science into here. And all that works is you have a science link up here, and you get this thing called Save to Zotero. It's a plugin for Chrome. And if I click this, it says saving the ketoscience database, genetic variants, blah, blah, blah. It saves the PubMed entry, like a HTML copy of it, and it looks for PDFs. And it looks like it might not find a PDF. So sometimes you can do some research. This is, ketone body metabolic pathway. That's pretty cool. So you can open up Sci-Hub. This is the other awesome part that we do at Ketoscience is we find the full article through here. So you can paste in a link and try and open it. Oh, and that link did not work.
What is that?
It's Russian. So
my dog wants to say hi. Say hi,
doggy. Hey, Ruby.
She wants to be on the podcast.
Yeah, so article not found. So this article we can't get. We looked basically pretty hard for it while checking that.
All right.
But you can basically put in any URL, PMID, DOI, or search string in here and try and open it if you don't have access to an article.
Okay.
And yeah, all right. So so that's Zotero. So I'm trying to build up more carnivore stuff, Eskimo stuff, gut evolution stuff, heart disease stuff. If you have a topic of interest and you want to deep dive and find all the science on it, please get in touch with me.
Well, for me is anthropology for sure.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Because I was getting my PhD.
That, right?
Yeah, I was getting my PhD in anthropology, and I was always interested in human evolution. So, for me, the studies that kind of talked about, the human diet and changes in the human diet, that was what was of most interest to me because, I did that kind of research and I just found it fascinating. And I studied archaeology, so I had to study flint knapping, which was, making the stone tools that people use to butcher animals. And so we would actually, roadkill is not uncommon in Michigan where I went to school. And so we did make stone tools and try to butcher an animal and kind of see, what marks it makes on the bone. And so you can sort of have an understanding of when you find caches of bone and be able to distinguish between, what was a human mark versus what was the fang of, some carnivore eating. So, so that was the purpose of doing that kind of activity, butchering an animal and cutting the bone. So, so I found that very interesting. And I always understood, from studying that, meat was a big part of, human evolution. That's just what we did. That's what we ate. And so when people talk to me about watermelon, it's so healthy. And I'm like, where would you get watermelon? How would you have that in February in New York?
So this is just what you're talking about. I looked up cut marks, which I know is a scientific term. There's all the data on how they judge whether something has cut marks. Now they're doing computer analysis of little scrapings on bones, and they're trying to see if it's random or from an actual human agent or something. And yeah, you can see how fast I opened that up. I just found it in Zotero and double clicked it. And look at it, I just love hominid carnivory, actualistic butchery, cut mark, micromorphology. Here's another one I just found. So I had a conversation last night. I started one. I found this article and I found the professor, and it was about the acidity of the human stomach and how our stomach is super acidic. So here is this quote. In general, across mammals and birds, these patterns bear out. The more carnivorous an animal it is, the more likely its stomach is to be more acidic. But as can be seen in figure 1, Humans appear to be an outlier even within this schema. Humans have stomachs with a mean pH of 1.5. The extremely acidic stomachs of humans are unlike those of any other primate so far sampled, and find their closest analogs not in other primates, but instead in the stomachs of vultures, which are similarly acidic, and potentially hyenas. No studies have documented the pH of hyena stomachs, blah, blah, blah. So then it goes into like some of the problems of it. And another problem is we don't know the stomachs of chimpanzees and bonobos, which are the closest related apes to humans, have been poorly studied, which is remarkable given a long history and use of chimpanzees as laboratory animals. It is possible that the stomachs of chimpanzees and bonobos are like those of humans, very acidic, which might suggest that such acidity evolved in one of our common ancestors. That the stomachs of chimpanzees are or can be at least somewhat acidic is suggested by the observation that the bacteria species Helicobacter pylori were more readily establishes in the stomachs of chimpanzees in a lab after they have been given antacids, as is also the case in humans. Blah, blah. So they go through all this thing, and basically the problem is we don't know what exactly chimps have for stomachs. So
Why not? I mean,
I
I
started a
wonder.
conversation that asked that question.
Because I mean, the whole thing about like beef having vitamin C or not, I'm kind of like, well,
Right.
Why can't somebody like put together $50 and like take, a steak somewhere and test it? I mean, like, why are we still discussing whether that's possible rather than just doing it, looking?
So this is actually, just to show, like, I don't just exist in a bubble as I'm looking at the science. So I wrote this down. I actually meant to tag this guy. So R. Dunn.
So you're big on Twitter.
I am big on Twitter, and I never really understood the point of Twitter, and now I understand the point of it. Look, Robert R. Dunn, right? You want to talk to this guy. How do you do it? Okay, you can email him. You can call his office. You can go through some official thing. Yeah, see his emails right there, and he will reply. He'll even send you a free PDF probably. But you can also find him on Twitter. So I found him on Twitter, writer and scientist, blah, blah. So I looked at him, and then I wrote this, and then I wrote this. This is his picture from his 2015 study, which I just quoted, and the 1.5 in humans, Homo sapiens, omnivore, 1.5. So I asked, why are you saying this is omnivore when it should be carnivore? Right?
Wow, what did he say?
So he said, well, actually, we were just looking at this. So this is Stadrian, another carnivore, and says this is actually consistent. And then Rob says, here's the most recent paper on these sorts of questions. Human stomach pH is unusual, more like a vulture than a cat. But it isn't clear how unusual because we don't yet know the stomach pH of our closest living relatives, chimpanzees or bonobos. And he posted this link, which is this new study that we just read. And I had only known about this study, Beasley, which is actually how I found him, right? So I wouldn't have even been able to find this guy's study if I didn't like find him through that study. So this is just like how science works. So you kind of have to look and spend some time and find these people. And then I brought in all these people and was like, okay, like I can make a conversation out of this. Like,
so
this
note
is the
to
problem.
self, I should be just stalking your posts because that's how I'm gonna find the science that I'm looking for.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm stalking everyone else's posts. I follow 7,000 people, anyone with keto or carnivore in their name, and then I upcycle content. So basically, what I do is I find decent content and then I make it better and I make it easier to digest or consume or look at. So this guy,
I love it. You're like a carnivore librarian.
Yeah, I was looking at like a bunch of anthropology accounts on Twitter and I found this guy and he was posting, actually someone else posted a video of him filming bonobos hunting ducals and monkeys in the forest. and they were literally ripping this monkey's head off and like spurting blood out and then sharing it with all their family members and then having sex. And I'm just like, this is so classic. Like, this is just like what humans were probably like 6 million years ago, right?
That's what you do after a good steak.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then some sex right on the
good
plate.
Monkey, or right on the plate, right on the branch. So he put a bunch of videos out. I actually wrapped them up into a thread unroller and posted that on Ketoscience as a paleo human anthropology, thing. That's kind of where humans start, right? As chimps or bonobos, eating mostly fruits and twigs, but we're actually eating some animals when they could, and then basically they just started becoming more and more dependent on those animals.
Well, as an anthropologist, that was well known that chimpanzees actually do hunt.
Yes.
But in the rest of the world's population, they don't know that.
And then I'm bringing in like another paleoanthropologist, Mickey Bendor.
Oh, I love him.
Like a carnivore.
Yeah.
So, the whole point of Twitter is get people involved, get people looking at things. Then I started researching like, oh yeah, the ileum is a part of your intestines, and it evolved to absorb vitamin B12. But vitamin B12 comes in animal flesh, but you can also build it yourself using microbes, but you can only build it in the colon, and the colon can't absorb the B12 there. So they actually studied patients who had low B12, and they said, what problems in your bowel do you have? And the ones with ileal resections were the ones that had the problems. So they basically concluded that serum B12 analogs are absorbed in the ileum by a mechanism independent of intrinsic factor, and that colonic bacteria in your colon at the other end and endogenous metabolism made by your own bacteria do not contribute significantly. So, does this mean that humans are carnivores? Otherwise, there is an amazing term that we just have to say. Coprophagic. Human feces contain appreciable quantities of vitamin B12 or vitamin B12-like material, presumably produced by bacteria in the colon. But this is unavailable to the non-coprophagic individual. Do you know what that means?
Well, copra is fossilized feces, right?
Yes.
So a non-fossilized individual.
And what does phagic mean?
Eating?
Yes. So non-poop eating individual is what you have to be.
In order to what?
So you can basically get vitamin B12 if you make it yourself and then eat your own poop.
Oh my God, who even came up with this idea?
This is the rules of evolution, and you need this vitamin B12. It's super important for all these important metabolic reactions. And so the question is, if humans have absorbed it in the ileum, and the ileum is right after the small intestine, that means that fat and protein would be accessed there, but not plants, because plants have not broken down in any way until they reach the colon. So basically, we evolved to get B12 from meat, not from plants. And whereas gorillas will eat a bunch of plants and make their B12 using that bacteria, but then they have to eat their own poop basically to get those nutrients. So if you want natural vitamin B12 supplements, you can actually get them as animal products, but they might
what are you saying? You can just reach into your toilet.
You can just reach into your toilet, all right? And
all right. So on that note, I really appreciate your getting on and showing me all of that. I think it's super, super helpful. And I think it's going to be really helpful for, my subscribers and anybody who comes upon this video. So is there anything else you'd like to share that you think we should know?
Get involved in the carnivore study. Another thing is I have all these books back here.
Mm-hmm.
This is 2 bookshelves of books. So buy books. Get, you know, see what's out there. That's what got me really into this.
Well, I'm a big fan of books, and I was thinking about like starting a book club, a carnivore book club or something like that.
I made one.
So
I actually have a ketoscience book club, so we can start that.
yeah, let's do it on
Um,
Zoom. I like that idea.
so yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, we can all sit and then get a bunch of people to get in and talk about it. All right,
Yeah.
great. So Against the Grain, this one is like old Indians
Wait,
before
what's the
white men
first
ruined
one?
them.
What's the first one you think we should read? I mean, let's just go ahead and pick a book, and I'll pick a
I would
time.
say this book, Not by Bread Alone. This is classic carnivore 101. Look, it
Mm-hmm.
says the all meat diet right here.
Isn't there a free
And it's
PDF of it
free
somewhere?
on Just Meat. Yes, it's free. And we only need to read the first half because the second half is all about pemmican and metformin.
All right. Well, this has been a great conversation. I'm gonna sign off now. But I love doing this. Thank you so much. I really enjoy making this kind of content. And 2 weeks from now, we're going to do our first book club meeting, and that's gonna be really cool.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
That's the Fat of the Land, Not by Bread Alone by Biljamar Stephenson.
Mm-hmm.
It was published in like 1946, and it describes his 5 or 10 year experience in the Arctic eating all meat diets with the Eskimos, and it is the #1 book you need to read as a carnivore. So,
and if you want to read the free version, you go to justmeat.com, and in the links section,
justmeat.co. It's like .com, but without the M.
Okay, yep. Justmeat.co. All right.
Yep.
I'll be sure to put
it's
that
one
in
of the sources.
too.
You can also download it and put it right on your Kindle if you want. But you can also support the book and grow the carnivore movement. It's good. It's good book to have and hardcover. All right.
All right. Cool.